I want to restart. Now everyone's going to hate me.
You're sharing your honest thoughts and opinions.
No one likes that on the internet.
Hello and welcome to another installment of Vinland Saga, our journey through all of the Vinland Saga manga. Today we're going to be talking about the slave arc, aka the farm arc, aka Farmland Saga, chapters 55 through 99 of the manga and season 2 of the anime. Now, we didn't watch any of the anime. We just read the manga. And we're going to go through this by giving you our general thoughts and expectations, chronological events and highlight moments, and then final thoughts at the very end. To open it up, though, Megan, to start us off, what were your expectations going into this from what you had heard, but also where the story left off?
Yeah, I remember while we were reading the prologue arc or like the beginning, a lot of people were excited for us to get into the Farmland arc. And I was excited too. And I think that my expectations were put really, really high in terms of this arc, because everyone is like, this is peak Vinland. Like, this is the peak of Vinland. Like, this is like one of the best arcs, if not the best arc. Like, a lot of people put this over the prologue. So I had a really high expectations. And not to say that it wasn't a good arc, not to say that it wasn't my favorite just because there was like not enough fighting, because if you know me, like, that's not really something I look for in a story anyway. But I just think my expectations were a bit too high.
Yeah.
And I think that I shouldn't have put them there. I already had high expectations because of the last arc and how good it was, and how the just characters and character development, like all of it was so well done in the first arc. So I expected that, and that I got, obviously, because it's not about necessarily fighting. It is about like Thorfinn's new journey and how he wants to live the rest of his life, and I do find that super important to obviously for him to go through. But yeah, that's kind of it. I did enjoy it. I'm not like a hater or anything. I think that when I saw a lot of people talking about it, it was from the anime. Mm-hmm. And I did see clips from the anime, and it did look really beautiful. And I think that maybe the anime elevated it a bit. I'm not saying that I didn't like it. I really want to get that point across, because I have things to say later on in our more broad thought section. But yeah, well, I mean, what did you think? You didn't really have that experience, I don't think.
Yeah, no, I didn't have any expectations in terms of like from the community, the Vinland Saga community, our community. I had zero expectations going in, so I really, really, really enjoyed this arc, especially the more it has sat with me.
And I do too.
Yeah.
I want to restart. Now everyone's going to hate me.
You're sharing your honest thoughts and opinions.
No one likes that on the internet.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you're
right
about that.
No one enjoys that. No one enjoys the outlier, and I'm not an outlier. I really didn't enjoy it, and I have my thoughts, and I know you have yours, and I'm sure by the end of the conversation, I'm going to enjoy it more. And even as I sat with it longer, because we've been sitting on this recording for a while, I do find more things that I like about it. I just think, again, the initial, like, it's the best arc of Vinland kind of got me.
Look, I'll put it up there. I mean, there are things in the prologue that were incredible, and moments that I don't think, like highs that I don't think were necessarily like achieved in this arc that were achieved in the first arc. But I would say that this arc achieves highs that the first arc doesn't achieve.
Exactly.
They're completely different.
And I'm not comparing the two because they are completely different. That's the point for the story for this arc, is for Thorfinn to like slow his shit down, because you really feel that like sudden like tone shift, like almost immediately. I mean, the whole arc is nothing like the first arc, but in the best way.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I loved this arc so much. I loved the characters. I loved seeing Thorfinn go through the changes that he was going through, because from a story perspective, like, he was at his like lowest of lows, his rock bottom. He's living now in like a post escalate world, when all he wanted to do was like seek that revenge. Now he like literally can't. So he's trying to figure out like what that means for him and how he wants to move forward. There were moments and things that I want to point to when we get to that more in-depth discussion that were so like powerful. And it was so interesting, the direction of certain characters, but also like, while the first arc had moments of like high intensity and politics and things that I found like extremely enjoyable for those reasons, this was like emotionally moving. Like this like moved me, especially when we get into like the later end of the arc, and things in this part like have stuck with me, and I feel like will stick with me for like a very, very long time. It's also interesting too, just from like I think we could talk about this here, just from like a story perspective, how like the creator, in reading this, there was like a Ask the Creator section of the back of the manga, and they talked about why they chose to take the story and character in this direction. They say that they feel and have felt like in shonen, oftentimes what happens is the protagonist is usually the one who is the strongest and who is doing all of the fighting and are almost being rewarded for their violence, or like how violent they are, even if they are goofy at their core. You know, you look at Luffy, you look at Goku, you know, you look at all of these, like,
I mean, any.
And they have good hearts, but it doesn't take much for them to like start fighting. And so he wondered, like, could I have a manga MC that never chose violence, like stops choosing violence at a certain point? Would that still be entertaining? Can I still tell that story? And that was like a big motivation for him to want to take the story in this direction. And I think he really succeeded. And I think that's an awesome like goal to have when you set out to tell the story.
Yeah. I mean, we see a lot of that too, like in the prologue arc, the setup. Like, obviously, his father felt a certain type of way about just like violence and war in general.
For
like,
sure.
So that was already set up. And I think that it did it in a way where it wasn't like shoved down your throat, so that you kind of anticipated like, oh yeah, Thorfinn's definitely going to do this later on. Like in the prologue, you had no idea it would get to this point. And there's so many like through lines, there's so many things connected. Like, obviously we see his dad and how he even dealt with like a slave, and now Thorfinn's in this position. And I think that it was important for him to go through this journey and to meet the people that he did, so that his idea of like what the world he wants to create, Vinland, and what he wants to do is reinforced. Yeah. Because now he has like real life experience and has been treated a certain way just for being a quote unquote like a slave. Like, the difference in treatment, like now he's seen it firsthand. When he was younger, he didn't really understand what that meant exactly, and then he became like a warrior, not a warrior, but like I guess like a fighter, and he only knew that life.
I mean, a warrior,
yeah, but like not in the sense of like a true warrior, which is like the theme that goes on, and then he kind of finds that out later on. But yeah, I love all the themes, and farming is very intentional.
Absolutely.
Because it takes time and energy, and you're like, it's very symbolic of creating or you know, tending to something and making it grow, which is like what he did for himself.
Taking a forest and tearing all of that down to the roots and growing something new.
And also asking for help.
Yeah.
Asking for help, knowing when to ask for help. knowing, okay, I might need a horse for this shit.
Yeah.
I might need other tools, because if I just try to do this myself, I might give up because it's too hard.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I mean, it's all there. It's all there, okay? And I enjoyed it. I don't want to come
defensive.
off
The more defensive you get,
like I seemed like I didn't enjoy it, because I understand. Because the first thing I think, like when you say that your expectations weren't met, or like you felt a certain type of way about something, people go, okay, well, you just, again, like you just don't get it. And it's like, no, I understand it, and I do enjoy it. I might not enjoy it as much as Josh, but I did enjoy it a lot. And I don't know.
and
Maybe I should watch the anime.
And it's not even to say that, Megan. It's just that you
And it's my fault.
saw things.
It's my fault.
Yeah.
My expectations were a lot. And
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's the problem. Not problem, but that's what happens sometimes. Like, not that you can get like things, plot specific details spoiled, but people can like hype something up to a point where you're like, oh, well, in your mind, your imagination starts going to all the places that it could go.
Yeah.
And then when it is something different, even if that thing is equally good, but just different,
Yeah.
it doesn't feel the same as if you would have just gone in blind.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And that was my mistake. But I'm happy to be talking
I've learned that
about
lesson
it.
the hard way.
You really have. I
call
feel
it
like
the
it's
film red.
usually like on the other end,
Yeah.
the expectations and stuff. But
Yeah. I call it the film red debacle.
the film red, what's another word? Not debacle. It's like a theory, or like the film red.
I call it the film red debacle.
Okay. It's just
You're doing
debacle's like one instance though. Like you want it to transcend. You know what I mean? Not from just one instance, but like, like what's the Schrodinger cat theory?
I'll think about it.
You know what I mean though? The film red.
I'll think about it.
Okay. We don't have to think about it now.
Anyway, we're going to get into all of this. We're going to get into characters too, because this is something that me and Megan have barely talked about this at all, because we were saving all of our conversation for this episode. But one thing that we did touch on, and we'll get more into, is that while for me personally, a lot of the characters and a lot of the character arcs worked, there was, I think, one in particular that like didn't hit as much as I felt like the story like wanted it to hit. But again, we'll get into character, we'll get into plot specific moments. These are just sort of our general thoughts. I have a little checklist here. My notes aren't as organized as they always are, but I'm going to try to check things off as we go through this section to make sure I get to say all the things that I want to say. But with all that out of the way, are you ready?
Sure.
To go through a little bit more chronological and dig a little deeper to really hoe and hoe this ground. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so where this arc picks up is actually with a new character, and I have a little character list up here too. A new character, Einar.
Einar.
I love
we're looking at like a character, like things that they have, like I guess like tags on the characters, like adult facial hair.
Oh yeah, like how you would search him.
And then like Thorfinn's like dual wielder, historical figure, knife fighter. Like it's so funny. Like
vengeful warrior.
Yeah, like he has all these things, and Einar's just like adult, like not even anything else.
Einar, when we first meet him, he's super optimistic, even though his situation is not great.
Yeah.
And he's optimistic because of the situation that he ends up finding himself in. I think he rightfully assumes that like being a slave is going to not be fun at all. And he's going to be sort of like doomed for the rest of his life. But when he meets, and I'm sorry, we just read this, so I might mispronounce things, but like Kettle. The main the owner of the farm, when he meets him and learns that he can like earn his freedom by doing what he already
knows how to
done,
do. Yeah.
Before.
But the difference is like doing it, but
Yeah.
then being treated as a slave.
Well,
Let's say.
but honestly, there were times throughout where, and this is so interesting too, because the mangaka touches on this throughout, but like there are times throughout this story that, because I think we have such a like traditional, when we think of like slaves and slavery, we imagine these like extremes, and because that is mostly what it is and what it has been historically. But in this story, there were moments where I forgot. I forgot because they were just kind of like, they had moments of like bullying from other people.
I didn't forget.
But they were just kind of like doing their own thing in the forest. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, yeah. I mean, they were working majority of the time,
Right,
but when
that's
they
right.
weren't working, they definitely were treated differently than
Right.
people that were not. And you see the difference too. I mean, we'll get to that, I guess, with another character. But the difference between like a male slave and a woman slave, and how fucked the difference is, and how fucked like that position is compared to like, oh, I'm just gonna work and earn my freedom back. It's just like a job, but you're treated like shit. Like,
yeah. When I first met Kettle and heard about the situation, my initial reaction was like, damn, that shit sucks, but it could be way worse. I think he hears that and he's like pretty optimistic about it. He's like, oh, hell yeah, I'm going to work my ass off then. And I'm going to get this shit done and get my freedom back.
Yeah, because most of the time they don't. That's not an option.
Right. That's when he meets Thorfinn, and we see Thorfinn again after some time, and he is just a shell of himself.
Husk.
Yeah. And it's that I think leads to like an incredibly powerful moment later on, but we meet some more characters first. Like I said, we're going to speed run this. Megan, jump in if I get too far ahead.
Sure.
And let me know. We also, I think at this time, get we learn a little bit more about like how the farm works and how there are other people who are just like working there, and who are indebted to Kettle, which it also might be, it's Kettle. Indebted to him.
Ketil?
You never know.
Ketel.
I don't want to.
Kegel?
Not Kegel, Megan. Jesus.
It could be.
Kegels are never a bad thing, though.
Yeah, he's a bad thing.
Bro, and okay. Since we're on the subject, I know it's a little all over the place, but like Kettle specifically, when we first meet him, I think to myself, hey, this guy ain't so bad. Even when we meet other characters.
Josh.
And other characters and see their situation, I think.
This man owns slaves.
I understand. And
it's so crazy because we see so early on that that's a choice. You don't have to do that. Much like Thorfinn's dad, you do not need to own someone. Like,
no.
But I'm just saying, like, we already have instances in the story where like there's people that have already said like, I'm not gonna, just because everyone's doing it and just because it happens and war is like the fucking the maker of slavery, like I'm just not gonna participate. And I think that's very important, like, to know that there's people that do believe in this still, because it just seems so normal in this world. Like, I feel like everyone's like, oh yeah, let's go down to the market and get some. Like,
yeah,
like it's crazy. And then like obviously like the like the war and like taking women and all this shit. I'm like, god damn, like people are doing this shit like heavy in this world, and it's just important to know, like, Kettle, just buying them, just fucking having them, like you're just automatically on another side, bro.
No, 100%. But I guess I mean, like, typically in a lot of stories, there are instances of like, you know, really terrible like abuse and like all of these other things that are happening. And this guy just seems like he's you know, looking for some help on the farm. Obviously, like you said, it's not just that. And he's yeah,
you would just ask people or hire them, not have them as
I completely
buy back their freedom. Like, he's already bad.
No, I understand.
But you're like, also, you know, this guy's pretty chill. I understand. I'm joking. I'm joking, but it's just funny.
But it's also,
I automatically was like,
fuck
sinister. Yeah.
It's interesting too, just like on that topic, because the mangaka does touch on it in the physical volumes. There are a lot of these like messages from them, and they just mention how because someone asks why make like slavery such a big part of the story, and he said, well, you know, historically around this time, like this is what was happening, But also he says that he was fascinated by, and that might not be the right word, but that like at this time in this area, we as Americans have our own history with slavery. That is,
and there are a lot of different places that do also have history.
No, 100%. Well. But like my point in saying this part of what I'm saying is that like we have our own history with it. And so when we hear about it, I at least think about a very specific, time in like our country's history. But what they were saying about this time in this location historically is that it didn't matter. Like race wasn't as much of a factor when it came to slavery as was just like weakness. They talk about how like, and again, that's why in America, for me, I associate it with race because of American history. But here it was weakness, and people who lost, anybody could be a slave. Didn't matter. And I know that was true of a lot of places, around the world. But they talked about how they found that like interesting, I guess, how people felt like they didn't feel bad for slaves because they felt like it was their fault for not being stronger. And
or just being in like the wrong place at the wrong time. Like you got pillaged, so you kind of deserve to be a slave because you were on the losing side. Yeah,
but yeah, exactly. And they say that like there was, I guess what's so fascinating about it is he said there was really nothing, and really there is never anything separating people. People are all equal. But like in this specific moment in history, it was just like you said, wrong place, wrong time. The roles reversed, or like one thing changed could mean the opposite situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that kind of, I think, ties into this as well. A lot of what is being like talked about in this arc, which is again something that I just thought was interesting and liked hearing the creator like talk about a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we also meet some other people on this farm. We meet Olmar, the son.
Fucking Olmar.
Big
kind of poor Olmar.
Yeah.
Towards the end. But he was still like,
he was a bitch.
He was a bitch. He was just going through it.
Yeah, I mean, he did. I did not think, I knew that there was probably at some point going to be a redemption for him at a certain point.
Yeah.
And I thought, ain't no way I'm going to give a fuck. And I kind of did.
Yeah. I mean, it was like I liked how his character towards the end, it all tied into like there's strength in being weak.
Mm.
Like there's strength in knowing when not to fight. Well, there's strength in like just having a weakness. And I think that like him kind of breaking like what is expected of him in that moment to be like, no, we've already lost X amount. Like I'm scared, but I think it was more because he was scared than it was he was trying to save everyone. But I want to give him credit and say that like maybe he was thinking of that too, because his brother was like brute force, like going in, just fucking shit up, and he kind of like started all this crazy shit. Honestly, it's kind of his fault. He's the fucking enabler, or
he's the reason that a lot of this happened. The catalyst, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, I liked that arc for him.
Yeah. Olmar, we meet, Snake.
Fucking Snake. Snake was interesting.
Yeah, Snake was interesting until again like the end, and then I started to come around on him, and I caught myself like feeling and saying even out loud like, you know what, Snake, you're cool, dude.
There was one time when I thought that he died, but it was just another fool that looked exactly like him. With the other situation with the slave girl, which I forget her name, and like her husband.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, Snake, and then I was like, oh, it's not him. It's just a guy with black hair.
Speaking of her though, that's Arnhind or Arnhide. Sorry, I'm gonna say these names wrong.
Arnhide.
Yeah,
Arnhide.
Yeah.
Arnhide.
I'm so sorry.
Arnhide.
There's a history of us doing this on this channel.
Yeah, like you would think there's an anime that pronounces the names that we could look up, but guess we can't do that.
Sverkel.
Thorgal.
and Snake's gang, as well as some other like background characters here.
And obviously everyone that we've seen in the previous arc. Got Canute.
Yep.
We got Big Bitch.
Yeah. Big Bitch, Thorkel, yeah.
Yeah. I love Thorkel.
I do too. We barely saw him. Barely saw his ass.
He might be like one of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
I really do like Thorkel.
One of your other favorite characters was Canute, though, right? You really like
I like Canute.
Yeah.
And I still like Canute.
Okay. Stand by your man.
I mean, is he really that evil? That's the thing.
I mean, yeah. I feel, but that's the beautiful thing about this
story.
This story.
Yeah, it's very complicated, and I'm not like Team Canute, like I really was, but I feel like Canute again, the fucking crown, the curse of the crown, like that shit's heavy as the head, and he's feeling that shit.
Yeah.
And he's seeing that shit firsthand. I like him because of the tactical, like him really being a very good tactical leader and thinking ahead and moving in certain ways. He is doing fucked up shit in order to do this thing that he wants to do. And I think that like as the arc ends, you do side obviously more with Thorfinn because he's like, I want a world with no slavery. I want to go to Vinland and like have everyone be happy. And I feel like Canute's like, yeah, but like, bro.
Yeah.
Like, be fucking real. Be fucking for real right now. And
But
that's why it's
also-
so complicated.
And that's what's funny is because, yeah, to me, it is a very gray and nuanced conversation when you're talking about like both of their
Agendas.
agendas and like how they plan on achieving
how they
agendas.
plan.
Yeah.
I think that's the most important thing.
But for me, it's like I know that Thorfinn's way of going about it is more
It's going to be harder.
idealistic, I guess,
And it's going to be harder.
and maybe not realistic or as realistic, but I think it's more honorable. for
Oh,
sure.
of course.
And I think it's
because he's choosing like I don't want to be violent.
Yeah.
Like I do not want violence. And Canute's like, well, that's the only way anything's ever going to get done.
Yeah.
Is through fighting and that's how people respond, through fear.
And he's talking about, again, he's very stern and very like confident in and he wavers at times, but like he feels like some people gotta go. Some people gotta go.
He's cutthroat.
And he'll frame somebody.
I know.
He'll sabotage somebody.
And I hate that I'm like, ooh, like it's like Game of Thrones up in this bitch. Like he has things he needs to get done. And much like his brother situation, which was fucked, he was like, it had to be done.
Yeah.
It's so crazy because he's like, okay, well, if he's alive, then this shit's gonna go wrong, and then more people, like, he's making calls, which is like not very fair for him to do because he can't play, like, he's playing not God, but he is moving things in a certain way to benefit him.
Yeah.
Because he believes that if it goes any other way, it's going to be a worse situation for like everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like martyr-esque of like, well, if I need to be the bad. You know what I mean? It's very interesting.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed all of like seeing his kind of descent into like really now solidifying like his stance and solidifying like what he's going to be doing throughout the story from now on.
But that's the beauty of it too, is the arc for every character, like the arc for Canute and also like the arc for the owner of the farm, Kettle. I think it was very like purposeful that he was introduced the way he was. Like, yeah, I'm a bad person because I own slaves, but like compared to other slave owners, like I'm not too bad.
Exactly.
And then,
I'm a good king.
And then this fool, as you go on, you find out this fool's a fucking, not just an awful, terrible person, but like a loser. Like a loser.
He's a rich loser.
Yeah, like a baby. And then you find out, even with Arnheim, you find out like, you think that she's just this thing, and slowly over the course of the arc, you you find out more about her. I mean, it's just like it takes you on a ride with all these characters. Like it really does.
Definitely.
They start and end in completely different places.
And it feels so like we talked about how the first arc really feels so big and there's so many things going on. The world seems so much larger because we're seeing pockets of different places and we're seeing a journey through different places. And here it is so self-contained. You're seeing obviously like the interpersonal relationships between all the characters and like what's already been set up to what Thorfinn and Einar are walking into and just what they kind of got caught up in. And just so happens that Thorfinn is in the area that like Canute wants. And it's kind of just like fate that they met and kind of like decided their journeys in that moment together.
Oh, but I love how we have like Thorfinn on one side, Canute literally on the other side, and Einar in the middle, sort of like wavering the entire arc, like going more to one side, more to the other side at certain moments, but then like finally like making his decision.
Yeah.
Again, like when they meet, and we're going to be really going through this. When they meet, Einar's a little bit more optimistic. They're learning about all the other people on the farm, the ways of the farm, and Thorfinn is a shell of himself. They figure out at some point that they're going to need more supplies. They're getting bullied by people, by the way.
And they're also like fucking, oh yeah, we're going to kill you just because he needs to kill someone tonight type shit. That was crazy.
Oh, Olmar. Yeah. Snake's boys, without Snake's knowledge.
Yeah, we don't know Snake exists yet.
Yeah.
In this story. And they're like, we use like, that's your dad's property. Like, you could fucking kill him. Like, it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, this is what really starts Olmar's arc off because he wants to be a warrior. Yeah. Like every boy.
No one takes him seriously. Someone's trying to get pregnant by him just to like have his baby, just to have power and money. So like really no one takes him seriously. No one really like enjoys his company. He's kind of just that kind of spoiled brat character that doesn't want to work, doesn't want to like learn the ways of the farm because like why would he if his dad, has slaves to do it.
Yeah, and so that's what kind of sets off like his arc and sets up a lot. It puts Einar and Thorfinn like on their own path that eventually leads them to. We see in that moment like a bit of Thorfinn's reflexes, in that moment when they're attempting to kill him. But again, he isn't
holding back.
He isn't the Thorfinn that we last like left. I guess.
No, and he's definitely holding back a lot. And this kind of sparks like this moment, obviously like working together and plowing the fields and everything like that and getting everything ready and him teaching Thorfinn how to farm brings them really close. It's like
they become homies.
Yeah, his first friend, which is really sad. And meanwhile, like Thorfinn's like has fucking facial hair now. Canute has fucking facial hair now. Like these are men. They're becoming men. They're not fucking boys anymore. And I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah. Where's my babyface Canute?
Yeah. Canute looks so different.
I know. I miss babyface Canute.
Yeah, me too. As it goes on, though, you're talking about them like working together. They realize that some of the work they're going to be doing is going to require more. They just don't have enough supplies, or that they're going to need a horse. Slaves aren't allowed horses because if they were given horses, then they would escape. So even if they can get their hands on one, it's going to be a weak one. So they find this other farm on the larger farm that is owned by this like very old man who says
he's
that
plowing in the field. Yeah. He's in that bitch. He is in the fields every fucking day. And they're like, oh, who is this old man?
And he says, if you do some work for me, I'll give you a horse. And then that leads into like, I'll give you I believe it's a hoe, right? To attach to the horse.
This is, and then we find out it's Ferkel.
Yes, he is the previous owner of the farm. So he is Kettle, the main guy, his father.
Yes.
And he's a very old, wise man who has taken in Snake, the leader of, they're called the bodyguards. The bodyguards are
Night watch, essentially.
the neighborhood watch for the farm.
Yeah, because there's like thieves in the night and stuff like that. So they're kind of he like sleeps during the day and then like wakes up at night to watch over the farm and the lands.
Yeah, so Snake and him have a very interesting relationship, and we find more out about that as the story goes on. But it's really like when Einar and Sverkel start teaching Thorfinn how to do other things, like even fishing.
Yeah.
That Thorfinn starts to have breakthroughs because he is having night terrors. He is
he's fucking having dreams in that bitch.
But he can never remember them. He always wakes up and he doesn't remember what's happening in these dreams.
I also loved that those scenes, those panels, like the ocean looks so beautiful.
Oh yeah.
And him like talking, because again, this is like the first time they're kind of shown like any type of like, oh, you're a human being, not just like a worker, like a fucking slave. Like he's talking to them like they just are people. Sometimes they'll be like, get back to work or whatever, but like he's actually conversating with them. Like I think there was a line that says like, being empty means anything can fit inside you.
Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah. Yeah, that was
so
one
touching. And then he's like, wait, what? And he's like, just fucking fish, get back to work.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, because he sees that in Thorfinn. Like he sees like how fucking empty of a shell this man is, and how there's like he has nothing. He feels like he has nothing to live for, but if you lose everything, then you have nothing to lose.
Yeah, and this is what I found. This is like one of the first things that I found like incredibly powerful about it was that exact line. Because I'll say we've all, but like I'll speak for myself. I've had moments where I felt, pretty down and not great and empty. And to hear that, like, because it makes so much sense, and it's just one of those things that I really do feel like immediately shifts your perspective. Because when we feel empty, when something is empty, that's when it can be filled with something else. And that something else can be anything you want it to be. And it's almost at the same time symbolic of like becoming someone different. Like,
exactly. Well, when you're at your rock bottom, like the only way is up.
Yeah.
Like you already are on the bottom. Like you can do different. Like you can be different. You can be whatever you want to be.
Exactly.
Because you're at the lowest. Because again, it's like you're at the lowest mark. You're the slave. You're a farmhand. Like.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you're broken and like the essence of you has like spilled out, left you empty. You don't have to like when you heal, as you start putting those pieces back together, you don't have to fill up that container with the same, essence. You can fill it up with whatever you want. And I think it's like giving yourself permission to not hold yourself accountable. It's actually not hold yourself accountable. That's not the way to say it, but like giving yourself permission to like to tell yourself that you are worthy of things despite your past. Like we will see later on that, like, Thorfinn is definitely like almost literally carrying things with him.
Literally in the next chapter after that scene, we see him in that dream sequence when he goes to like Valhalla. It's Valhalla, right? Or it's like the really lower
Valhalla. It's Escalate describes it as like
I forgot how he described
just like the
it.
warrior's like mindset, essentially. Like the warrior, the place of the warrior.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was crazy. A lot of crazy panels in that. Very, very nightmare.
Oh my God. I mean, that was like some of the craziest fucking artwork too. Like pop the fuck off, like nightmarish, like really, really like painfully beautiful, like some fucking Dante shit, some fucking berserk shit. Like this shit was fucking crazy.
And what it stood for, I mean, like, like you said, carrying that with you and not completely trying to bury it and pretend like it's not real, it didn't happen. Like you had to like face that and say like, oh yeah, these weren't just like meat sacks that I was fucking slashing. Like these were people. Like these were human beings.
Yeah, and he has to literally make amends. And making amends doesn't mean like you're forgiven.
No.
It means that at a certain point, you do need to forgive yourself. But it doesn't mean you are forgiven. I mean, you have to carry that with you but it's really
carry that weight.
It carry that weight. And Thorfinn says, like, I'm literally carrying these people with me. And then you have to decide like what you want to do with that. You know what I mean? And how you want to let those things inform like how you move forward. But like, that's one of the main reasons why he says he doesn't want to become violent or resort to violence anymore, is because he's like, I literally can't, the weight. And it's so powerful because we're shown like the physical weight of people like actually hanging on to him.
Yeah.
But he's like
pulling him down.
Yeah. He's like, the weight of one more person, like I can't. Like I'll be pulled back down. Like I literally can't. So it's like not an option for him. And because we've seen it the way it was depicted in the dream, it just makes that moment like even more powerful. Yeah. When he finds out what he's dreaming about, what his dreams are, crazy. And it ties back to, because I think he even sees his dad in one of the dreams again, Thor's, and he says, and he has that conversation with him about enemies again, and how nobody has enemies. And that line gets me every time too. Like,
I know.
What the fuck are you?
I know. I think that
kidding?
Like even talking to like, it wasn't like it was just him trying to teach a child that too. That's why it hits harder too. It's like not telling like an adult this, like telling a child like who, like you're a fucking kid. Like who's your enemy right now? Like you have no one's born with enemies.
Yeah.
You make that decision for yourself. Like you create your own enemies. Like no, you know.
It's not just powerful, but it's just one of those things that it is so like remains to be incredibly important and like pertinent, and you feel like should be something that by now we all sort of like have evolved enough to just like understand. But people are fucking wild, bro. In 2024, people are fucking crazy, bro. Anyway, sorry. It just, it gets me really upset.
Meanwhile, Canute is being dextered.
Okay, what is that? What does that
when
mean?
his dad's like Harry, you know.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, he's talking to the
head of his father, and his father's just kind of like filling his brain with shit and talking to him, and he's literally talking to no one, and he's kind of like going through it, just like Thorfinn is too.
Yeah. That was kind of cool though. I did like that a lot. I liked him having to, face his father and, hearing his father's voice, mocking him, and even
telling him what he's doing. Like because his brother, and he's poisoned him, and his dad is like, wow, like you really are fucking cutthroat. Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
He's like, shut up, like enough.
Yeah. That was something that even like going back to the art again was like, it was drawn so well. It was always like fucking nasty.
I mean, he was just nasty in general.
I mean, he was nasty when he was alive.
Yeah. That's why I'm like, when his fucking of course his fucking chopped off head is gonna be nasty too. But yeah, and in this time, Arnhend, I think what's his name? Einar's got a little crush, and we find out more about her. She's like quote unquote a handmaiden, but like handmaiden, like
yeah,
obviously to the fucking owner, fucking Kettle. He's like crying in her arms, fucking like baby, fucking, and she's like, yeah, like for sure. And he is a bitch, and they kind of are told that they did their job. They're going to be free soon. They're going to be free soon. They're like, fucking sick. Yes. And he's kind of talking to Thorfinn, like, we should maybe try to get her out.
Yeah.
If there's a way to buy, like, her back or, like, whatever. But it's kind of made very clear that that's not possible because this guy's, like, really in love with her. Yeah.
And we've heard, like, murmurs about this guy. I think we'll even hear more later when the farm owner's son comes to visit. But we've heard like murmurs of this guy and that he has like a reputation for being like the Iron Fist Kettle. And that gets revealed to be something else later. But like it was Arnhide. It was her whole story that I mentioned earlier. I felt for her. Everything that happened to her was so devastating, but ultimately, a very like a crazy twist sort of happens. So like you think she's like you said a handmaid, then she's like the number one, the number one girl for the farmhand, which or for Kettle, which means like he's forcing her to do things with him, which is pretty awful and disgusting. But out of nowhere, her past comes back in a way that I did not expect it to.
Yeah.
There's a slave from another farm, like on the run, or another property, whatever, on the run, and it ends up being like her husband. This shit was sad. This shit was so fucking sad. But like you were saying in the beginning of the episode, like I feel like this is something that probably would have like hit me harder in the anime than it did in the manga, because
I mean, I felt for her, but
same. So, no, I did too. I really, really did. But out of all the, and again, it's not even like that. Again, that I didn't feel for her, but out of all the other character arcs, like hers was just sad. And when she met her end, it didn't hit me as much as I expected it to.
Yeah, me too. I think that she just kind of like her character in general, I think just symbolized like how quickly your life can change and how quickly war can change someone's life. Mm-hmm. Obviously her and her son and her husband were together. Then her husband left and then they got pillaged and her son was taken or died. Dead, yeah. And she went into slavery, and it's just like how quick, like how fucking just like at a snap of a finger, like your whole life can change and you can be in this horrible position. And even someone who is willing to save you can't. Like, it's sad. Like, I think that she was an important character not only for the story, but for Thorfinn, to fucking say enough is enough with this goddamn shit. Like, it's just not necessary. Like, why are people having to suffer like this?
Yeah, and for Einar too, because he grew fond of her, and she, a lot of the times it was things that were happening to her that really set him off and made him sort of like fluctuate on that like moral scale. I guess. Like it was always like him wanting to do something for her
because he was like about to be out.
Yeah.
He was about to be out. Oh, and meanwhile, we forgot to mention that like their crops were destroyed.
Yeah, and that was another devastating blow.
Devastating.
Yeah.
Like,
see, that shit fucking got me. I was like, oh my God.
Me too. I was like, I swear to God, if they fuck up their crops, I swear to God, if they fuck up those crops. And they did. They did indeed fuck up those crops. And it was very sad. And I felt very bad. And even Thorfinn in those moments, like, really had to hold back.
And it was hard. And I love that too, because like Thorfinn there are a couple of moments, and I want to get back to like Arnhind and her husband.
Sorry, it's just you kind of skipped around a little bit.
Yeah, no, I apologize. I'm all over the place. But what was I saying about
the fields, Thorfinn?
Yeah, so I like that Thorfinn sets out to like be someone who doesn't resort to violence. I think the way he words it is like, I want there to be like a first resort and I want violence to be a last resort, and he's trying to find what that first resort is.
Yeah.
But I like that he kind of slips a couple times. Like there are times where like when the crops get destroyed, it's like really hard for him. And there are other times where he does slip and he does resort to violence. And then he realizes like, fuck, that's not what, because at first it's like, I don't want to resort to violence. But then he thinks maybe sometimes you have to. So then he acts violently for a just cause. And then he realizes, nope, that's not what I want to do either. So I like that he's like figuring it out, and it's not easy for him.
Yeah.
And he's going through multiple like phases of it and experimenting with what he wants his first result to be. I just thought that was a really cool thing. But yeah, that fucking broke me. The other thing about Arnhind and her husband too was that I think he also kind of represented just like her blaming him. She blamed him for leaving. And if the men wouldn't have left, then none of that shit would have happened. Like, in a way, everything that happened to her, their child, was her husband's fault because they had no fucking business being in this war, but they were literally just men being men and wanted to go fight. They got fucked up, and because they went, now these people knew where their village was. They got fucking pillaged, and she became a fucking slave, and her baby fucking died. So she hated him, and but there was also a part of her that like loved him, and so I think when she goes to the barn, I think that there was a part of her that did just want to like wash him and did just want to just care for him. But when she saw him again, because this man is fucking sad too. He's talking like his son is still alive and we can get out of here.
Well, he's assuming that he is. He doesn't know because she lied. She said like, oh no, he's fine. Like he's somewhere else. And he was like, okay, sick.
But I think this fool's fucking just gone. Like he's gone.
Well, mentally, yeah.
Yeah.
Because again, it's like what will you, again, he represents what you will turn into if you are just fueled by vengeance. And everything you do, even if it's smart or not, like will just end up like being the end of you or like the end of someone else.
Yeah. And I do like ultimately that she forgave him, like whether she kind of wanted to or not, like she risked her life to free him again and to go with him. We also find out that she's fucking pregnant too. Like that shit was fucking crazy.
Yeah, dude. I mean, her getting beat up by Kettle was like one of the worst. I just had like a pit in my stomach. Like that's when I felt, I mean, obviously the worst because it was just like, it was just so funny how quick, you know, oh, I love you. Where are you? Like, I need her. I need to talk to someone. I need to talk to her. And then it's like, oh yeah, she's tried to run away. And it's like that fucking bitch. And immediately turns to like hatred. Like immediately. Like it's just crazy.
Yeah. I mean,
because you don't then. Like you don't. You see, you know, we're under the impression that he is like, obviously she's a slave and obviously it's not fucking mutual. If she had her choice, she would not be fucking doing this shit with this man. But it seems like he really cares for her. Like towards this in the story, like it's not just like, it's a more emotional relationship than, it's like equal emotional and like sexual. But yeah, just fucking how quick he changes to like, oh no, you're just like a piece of fucking property. You're just a piece of meat that I can fucking kill, like beat with my bare hands. Like I do not give a fuck about you. It was just fucking crazy. And then when she, you know, towards the end, when she meets her end, he's like sad. It's like, okay, bitch, fucking fuck you.
That was when he was, you know, beating her. That was the part that made me feel like there were moments throughout, like you said, you call it like a pit in your stomach. Like I would call it something similar. I would describe it similarly. Like it was the crops. It was like that moment. And then it was like a moment with Thorfinn later that was just like, oh my God. Like it just made my stomach turn. And it was hard. It was hard to read, but yeah, fuck that fool. He, you know, we do find out later too that this fool's full of shit. That this reputation he has is not his. It's somebody else's.
He just a bitch. I mean, he's just a bitch.
He's a fucking bitch.
Bitch.
But this is all going on
at the farm
while they're kind of off. Like the stuff with like her husband is happening while Olmar
and his brother Thorgil are meeting with the king and starting shit. And Thorgil comes in and he knows exactly what he's doing. He knows exactly what buttons to press and because Canute, and also Canute's playing his own game too.
I would say Canute more.
I would say Canute more. Because he knows Thorgil. I mean, he knows Canute is very good at anticipating what men will do because they're men. Yeah. And it's crazy.
Yeah, I don't think Thorgil's playing any games. At first, I thought maybe he is trying to get a rise out of Olmar. Maybe he is.
Well, he's trying to fucking like man up. Like that's what I mean.
Think that's what it is. Yeah, 100%.
So he has his own agenda, and then Canute is like, "Oh yeah, I need him to do this thing. Like, I need him to kill someone, and then I can initiate my plan."
Yeah, bro, this man Canute frames them for everything, sets them up, and they play right into this motherfucker's hand. They play right into his hand. You know, Olmar's ego gets tested. He gets made fun of. Dorgal comes in. They kill some guards, and then Dorgal goes fucking crazy and kills fucking more guards and shit.
And they're like, "Oh, you're done."
And yeah, and they're like, okay, sick. Now we're on the fucking run from the fucking king.
Yeah, and he's gonna come. He already planned. He needed their like farm. So that it was already planned, and that was crazy. And now he has an excuse to go get it.
Yeah, and they and in the town they'd also met up with Leaf, and Leaf has
Leaf's back.
Leaf's back with a new son that he named Thorfinn, which is the most fucked up thing that happened the whole arc.
It was he didn't know if he doesn't fucking even know if Thorfinn's alive. He was like, it's an homage. He didn't try to
imagine if something happened, right? And it could go either way, right? But let's say one of us stops doing this show, and then we bring somebody else on, and it's another girl, and I say, your name's Stephanie, but I'm gonna call you Megan.
It's just easier for me to remember. It's easier.
And you the same. Like you bring another guy on. It's like, my name's Jeff, but I'm gonna call you Josh.
The website already says our names. It's really complicated to fix everything. The backlog.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna keep it like that.
Yeah, you don't care, right?
I know it's weird, but I took it similarly to like how Game of Thrones is, and how all of the Targaryens like name each other the same shit, like
15 Aegons and shit.
Yeah, like they all name each other the same thing. That's how I kind of took it. It's just like a very popular like name handed down, and so like an homage to the other one before them, and yada yada yada. But yeah, he's looking for Thorfinn still, because he knows that he's a slave and he is trying to find him. And we kind of got a taste of that. We watched the first season of the anime, and there was a scene with him
at the end.
With Thorfinn.
But Leaf provides the escape for them once Canute and his army are after Kettle and his sons. And
because he gets information that they do have a slave named Thorfinn. And he's like, if I help you, I want that slave. And he's like, you have my word. And Kettle's like fucking cooked. He's kettle cooked right now.
He's kettle cooked.
He's fucking in that barrel. He's like, my life's fucking over. My son's fucked everything up.
Like this man,
he's scared as fuck.
Yeah, cowering. Coward. But then out of nowhere wants to he gets fucking zapped by something and wants to fucking act all tough all of a sudden.
Well, he takes
someone
it out.
else's fucking reputation.
But he also takes it out on the fucking. He takes out all of his. Literally, like he is such a fucking asshole. Like everything that's happening, he's so pissed. He can't take it out on his son. He can't fucking fight Thorgal because he'll fucking die. So he takes it out on fucking Arnheid.
But let me tell you this. She might be physically weaker than that man, but she is emotionally and stronger as a person than that man will fucking ever be. Okay? Because that man is I've never seen a bigger bitch in my life. Yeah, dude. God, that scene was so fucking crazy. Anyway, now the fucking army's coming, dude. Now the fucking Canute's coming, and it's about to be fucking war. And these farmers can't fucking fight.
No, and they're so gung-ho.
Yeah.
And they're so gung-ho. And even like that conversation between I think it was, who was it? Like Snake? I forgot who it was with.
I think it was probably Snake. Snake and his one of his other guys.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, there's no way we're gonna fucking win this. Because they're like, oh, they only have this many men. Like, it's fucking piece of cake. We're like doubled in numbers. He's like, yeah, no one knows how to fucking fight like they do. They might have less men, but those men have been training to fight their whole fucking lives. Like, what are you guys
they're
kidding?
With the Joms, Vikings.
Yeah, like, what are you guys kidding? And, oh yeah, the Joms Vikings. Yeah. And the other people that they fucking have. It's not just the Joms, but the Joms are scary fucking enough.
Yeah.
And they even said, like, yeah, you can start, but once you start, they're going to know immediately that they're fucking dead.
No, he's like, yeah, we're fucking dead. And Snake has this kind of cool moment where he's like, because again, him and his relationship with the old man, like he reads the old man like the Bible, and he eats his food, and they have this like back and forth relationship, where he calls Snake lazy because he sleeps all day because he's on patrol at night. And there's just really cool moment where Snake's like, you know what, I'm gonna finally earn all that food that I've been eating, essentially, because while there are thieves and things that do people that do come, they are protected by the king. They were protected by Canute's brother before Canute fucking poisoned him. The farm was given sort of like amnesty. Is that the right word?
Yes.
Protection. So Snake really was just kind of there, and his job was kind of easy until
he did catch some kids.
Yeah. Until
God,
Ryan, Arnhide's husband got there. That was probably one of the craziest things that they had to deal with.
Well, yeah, because he was straight up killing bitches. Like he was a fucking he Thorfinned out.
He went Thorfinn.
He went Thorfinn. He went full Thorfinn.
He went little Thorfinn.
Little Thorfinn on him. Mm-hmm.
But so there was just that touching moment where he's like, I'm gonna earn some of this food, and his comrades were like, God damn it, dude. And then they put on their helmets and they reluctantly joined the battle too. But it was cool because they really, like, when you meet them, they're trying to convince Omar to like kill one of the slaves, which is just either Einar or Thorfinn. That's how you're introduced to them. But then over the course of the arc, that's what I'm saying. Every motherfucking character has a fucking arc. By the end of it, you're like, I kind of like these fools too, because they really are loyal to Snake, and they really do give a fuck about him, because he doesn't ever really like super explicitly say it, but he says like, the reason my name is Snake and the reason why this is fucking Badger and this is fucking Weasel and this is fucking whatever is because like we are either like on the run, like we are cast out, like we are like either like ashamed of our names or have abandoned our names, like, and I have given like a place to all of these misfits. Like I've given purpose to all of these misfits, and we have become like our own like found family kind of thing. And they really do feel that way about each other. And so, yeah, I don't know. That moment at the end was kind of cool. And Snake was kind of a fucking badass. There was a moment too.
He was cool too. And even his like interactions between like the husband slave and stuff.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
He was just like, I literally have to do what I have to do, bro. Like,
no, it's my fucking job.
Don't stop me. Like, please. Like, you understand the position that I'm in, right? Like, you understand what I'm trying to do.
Not only was he also like a genuinely good fighter, like, just because there wasn't a lot of action didn't mean that he was like bad at his job. Like, he was a good fighter.
No, him and Thorfinn were like, oh, damn.
Yeah, like neck and neck.
Yeah.
And like you said, he also gave fucking Einar and Thorfinn like so many chances.
I know.
To like do shit, like crazy shit, like try to free, Arnhide, or like helping with the slave, her husband, who was the slave, the runaway slave.
Which he did end up killing.
Yeah. But like, damn, bro, like all of that shit, like you could tell he really did care about them.
No, for sure.
Yeah. In his own like weird way with the politics and the hierarchy of the farm, like he really let them get away with more than he should have.
Yeah.
But yeah, then the battle sort of commences, and they are fucked.
Yeah, they are so fucked.
They're fucked.
Yeah.
I was kind of mad when so many people die, but the farm, the owner of the farm, Kettle, he does not die.
I know.
No, none of them fucking die. Like, none of the sons die. No. Nobody dies.
And they're like still debating on whether or not they should like continue to fight, which is like so stupid, like so annoying. Mm-hmm. So annoying. Oh, meanwhile, fucking what's his name? I always forget his name. Oh, what's that bitch's name? The one with the Canute. I forgot his name.
Oh, you're talking about fucking Acorn Head.
Yeah. He's rolling with him and giving him. He's like the fucking hand.
Yeah,
to
he
the
really
king.
is. He really is.
Which is just it's just funny to see him there. Because we felt a certain type of way about him in the.
I still do. He's still slimy to me, but he's got a job.
Not Joms. No. That's the name of the Vikings.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're fucked, and that's where Omar's kind of arc ends with him kind of making that decision because he is the next of kin, or the one who's like inheriting everything, I guess, because it was chosen by him. He makes a decision like, yeah, we're not going to fight anymore, and his bitch ass mom. Fuck that hoe too.
Well, yeah. I mean, the mom was a fucking bitch.
No,
she was a bitch. But yeah,
she's like, what do you mean? You're disgracing your family. Like, no, I'm saving my family.
I think he comes to that decision after like the 100 beatings or whatever that Thorfinn.
Oh, really?
Endures.
Oh, because okay. I was sorry. I was mistaken.
It's totally fine. But yeah, that is probably not the last, but like top 3 moments of this arc.
Oh yeah.
That was something that will fucking stay with me forever. Like that shit was so powerful and was such a beautiful way to show the entire like point of this arc, and I think like really showing that Thorfinn has like firmly landed in this as like who he is and like how he wants to be and his decision. Like,
I like that. I do agree. There's a lot of like thematic ties to him getting beat 100 times and him like not being able to be broken down and choosing this. But also, he knows he could take a fucking 100 beatings because that fool's gonna be tired as fuck and he's still gonna be standing.
Well, yeah, no, for sure. But that's also, I think, what was so powerful about it. That's what I was gonna say. And instead of using his skills on the battlefield to hurt, he is using them like
to
the
his
opposite
advantage.
way. Yeah.
Because he knows. I mean, even in a fight, you get tired.
Yeah.
Like literally punching someone once.
That shit
hurts. Imagine punching someone 100 times
with all your full strength.
You're fucking he did pass out.
No, you're absolutely right. But I thought that was so cool too, because he is using all of that experience killing people. Now he's using it for good, kind of like, and not for violence at the same time.
Yes,
like it's just that's what I mean. How it all came together was so, and then
it was great.
The fucking like this is something crazy. I have a picture I was going to pull up and show you. I don't know if you've seen any of that from the anime.
No.
And I haven't seen any of it either.
Oh, we should have watched the clip.
Yeah, we should have. But I just saw a picture of that moment and some people talking about it on Reddit. In the manga, this man gets beat to a literal fucking pulp. I'm talking fucking big ass balloon eyes swollen shut. Balloon fucking lips.
It's like, not that way in the anime?
No. It looks like
he's chill.
No, not chill, but like here.
He's a little scraped up. He's a little like beautified scraped up.
And there's like a different, I think.
That's annoying.
Yeah, there are like different stages of it, but like that's it in the.
Okay, bitch.
Yeah.
I mean, again, like look at it's the colors, the shadowing, like it looks gorgeous.
Yeah. But if you compare it to the manga, it just looks crazy.
He's giving like Luffy, you know.
He's giving in the anime. It looks like he's giving like very like fucking tough and like hard and like triumphant. But in the manga, it's like I don't know, bro. It looks like something out of fucking Preacher and shit.
Well, that's when that's like the next. I think that's like the next day when it's like super bulged up.
You might be
because in the manga he still kind of looks like that because it's not super like.
Yeah. But even still, like I guess you're right.
Because it has time to settle. But
that shit was fucking crazy, bro.
Even in the manga, he is a little bit more fucked up. But yeah, that was intense. I kind of even also enjoyed like Canute, them being like, "Oh, Thorfinn, like your homie Thorfinn." He says that he wants to talk to you. He's like, "I don't really need to talk to him though."
Yeah.
Like we're not that close. Like I really
well, it's kind of crazy because like again during this time, you know, there are, and like you mentioned Game of Thrones and all these motherfuckers named Aegon and all this shit.
Yeah.
Like they're like ain't no fucking way it's the same person. Like everybody's named Thorkel or Thorfinn or Thor.
But that's very specific.
No, but he was literally like the odds of it actually being this fool are so low. Like and because of how people travel, because of travel.
That's true.
Because of like all these.
And the odds. What are the odds of it being him?
He's like, ain't no way I'm giving this motherfucker the time of day. This fool don't know me. Everybody thinks they know me. But then when he does see Thorfinn, he's like, oh, fuck.
Oh, it is you.
He's like, I don't even recognize you, but I know because of the whole situation that it is you, you know. Because something happens later when he reunites with people and they don't believe it's him either. But that I did feel that too when Canute was like, nah, I don't want to see that fool. I don't want to see him.
No, I felt like it was a mixture of both.
And you might be right.
I felt like he was like, I mean, because again, like even the way he was talking to him, like
you might be right.
He does not really give a fuck. They're not homies like that.
Yeah.
Like they might have traveled and done things together, but during that time, Thorfinn was a fucking psycho.
Yeah.
Like, of course they talked and exchanged things, but yeah, no.
This is where they have their sort of like when they do link up, they have their conversation about their sort of dreams and what their dreams are and how they're kind of the same but kind of different. Thorfinn has pretty much decided that he wants to, like you mentioned earlier, go to Vinland to create a paradise, no slavery, Just
No war.
no war, no violence, as much as you can, just to really get away from everything. Almost like an Eden sort of situation, and Canute is very much like, yeah, I still want to create a paradise on Earth too, but I am, and this was so fucking interesting because he goes, I want to create a paradise on Earth too, but to do that, like I have to sort of like thin the herd. I have to sort of like harvest, certain crops. You know what I'm saying? Like, but he also says like, and I have to do it while like rounding up all of these fucking monsters, these beasts, and giving them something like just to fight for, almost like I'm doing a service by, yes, their power works in my favor, but I'm also doing the world a service by like uniting all of them so that they aren't just like creating chaos on their own in all of these places. Because Canute was like, don't pillage. Like, you guys aren't allowed to fucking pillage anymore. And he got into a fight, I think with Thorkel about that. He's like, you guys got to stop fighting at a certain point. Like, we're not fighting till the last man fucking dies.
Yeah. Yeah. There's like parameters.
Yeah. And so he really thinks he's doing the world a service in that as well. And there's a moment where Thorfinn goes like, damn, like I thought I had thought about it as much as I could, but even I didn't even consider like trying to save the Vikings, like trying to give them a purpose. He's like,
or trying to save them, and like because they're like unsavable.
Yeah. And he's like, and he kind of has a moment that makes him.
They both fucking chuckle. They both are fucking.
Yeah, he was like, Thorfinn or Canute, you son of a bitch.
And then Canute's like, you son of a bitch, Thorfinn. When they're like going back and forth about their ideals and ideas and stuff.
Because Thorfinn's is very, idealistic, very, I guess naive, but I love that he is like committed to that degree to see that through. And I think that what's so great about Thorfinn's character is I believe he can do it. I don't believe, or
he can make
make
a version of it,
Yeah. And Olmar kind of like this whole time has been like getting fucking pissed and saying, no, fuck these fools. We need to kill them. And violence is okay sometimes, and back and forth.
Yeah.
And then he ultimately lands on, you know what? I'm fucking with you, dude. I'm fucking with you. We're in this shit together. And then they kind of split ways. They're like, okay, well, I'm going to, and then, oh God, this was so fucking touching too, because he goes, Thorfinn essentially says like, I forgot how he worded it, but like, don't make my job hard. Like, make my job. They pretty much part ways. And I think it's Thorfinn who tells Canute, like,
I'm trying to do something good. I'm trying to do something good. Like, do something good.
Yeah. And the more people that you hurt and harm, the harder you're making things for me and my paradise. And it was just that like exchange that they had that was just like, it was cheeky, but it was like sincere, and it was emotional, and it was powerful, and it was just so it was so cool. And then they just go their separate ways to achieve each of their dreams. And they're like, well, I guess we'll see like who fucking does it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was really, really, really cool. And this is where like, a true warrior and all these things are coming in to play again. But man, that was an incredible moment. I think around where this arc starts to come to an end is Thorfinn's trip home.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Unless there was anything else you had to say about that
No.
But yeah, he starts to head home, and he hasn't been home for a very, 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 very long time. How old? Did you do the math?
No.
Neither did I. But it was
a very long time. They haven't seen him since he's been a fucking child. Mm-hmm. Like an actual, probably like 7-year-old or something. Yeah. 8-year-old, something crazy like that. And then, I think it ends with like the shot of them. Like, I would assume his mom and his sister with her kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, that was a very heartwarming reunion. Even his sister, Olga, that's not her name, is it? I forget. But like her not believing it was him, and like the moment with the mom, and like the mom saying that like Einar had a place there. Why are you looking at me like that? Why are you looking at me like that?
I might have not read. I didn't read that.
Oh.
Did you read ahead?
No, I don't think so.
Because it ended at 99.
Oh, well, I might have maybe accidentally read one more chapter because it was the physical volume. So I just read to the end of the physical volume.
Okay, then yeah. I stopped. Okay. I was like, wait.
Well, you did what you were supposed to do, and I'm
sure.
No, you did what you were supposed to do.
They were like, oh God. I'm like, please don't say anymore. Anyway, okay. I haven't read it.
Then I won't say anymore. But Thorfinn reunites with his family, and it's not as easy as it doesn't. It is sweet, but there are a lot of things that a lot of funny things that happen. Why are you making that face?
Nothing. I just don't know if I'm right.
You're probably right. Don't question yourself. I'm not questioning the fact that I was probably wrong.
Anyways, this is what you get when you tune in to a Volume 1 episode.
Yeah, heck yeah. It's cash. It's conversational. This is what we do. Is there anything else, though, you want to say about this arc or any moments that we didn't get to talk about?
I mean, I think that it's again, talking with you about it, there's so many great moments and like themes throughout. I think like the most important was just like how Thorfinn had to change who he was and change his outlook on life because he didn't want to just like survive anymore. He wants like to live.
Yeah.
And I think that is a turning point for him and also just like the story in general. I really, really did enjoy it. Again, I see clips of the anime and I wish I had, set aside time to watch season 2. I still might like watch some scenes here and there, but yeah, for the most part, I think it was a really good read.
I think that's extremely well said. I mean, surviving versus living. I think that's like a beautiful way to put it. And that's exactly what it is. Again, I think that for me, in talking about it again, I realized that my favorite thing about this arc is that, again, like every single character is in a completely different place than they are when you meet them at the beginning of this arc. Every single character has an arc, and they all feel satisfying or heartbreaking, or even within the heartbreak, satisfying as like an ending for their character. The idea that the mangaka spoke about, can they make a manga entertaining with an MC that doesn't choose violence? I think that they succeeded at this, and I think that this is what makes this specific arc like so incredibly powerful. And I'm telling you, like there are things like man, sometimes I guess Southern California traffic, I get fucking mad. Not even traffic, but
you get vengeful.
Yeah. Not even traffic, but sometimes you go to the store, you're just in line for something, and people are just like, damn, they really just like, they know how to make your blood boil.
I think it's, yeah. I mean, it is just like that mentality of like myself before anyone else, but like in a very like disrespectful way,
Yeah. And I'm not saying I'm gonna fucking dual wield fucking daggers and shit in the fucking in the fucking Walmart parking lot or anything like that. But I'm just saying that it was just like a very I think important reminder of like who I want to be. And I think that is what makes stories so great, is when you can like read them wherever you're at in your life and go like, damn, like not only do I relate to that, not only do I connect with that, but like I want to be better, and I have a better idea of how I want to like become the person I want to be. Like, man, and that's why I said there are things in here that will speak to me and will stay with me for a very long time. And I just really think that this was like incredibly powerful for how it ties in everything from the actual like the characters, the setting being so, like you said, connected to the themes. Every single detail of this arc is so incredibly purposeful and all drives those ideas home, and it does it so fucking well. Damn, I'm fucked up. Is there anything else you wanted to say?
No, I think that wraps it up.
It's been a incredible journey so far, and we have 2 arcs left. We have
which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, it does feel like it's taking us a long time, but it's also like we're also almost there. We're halfway through now, but it's been an incredible journey, and I can't wait to read more. I know we're a little all over the place, but I just want to thank everybody for tuning in, for being patient with the release of this episode, and with the release of the next one after that. We're trying to get to them as fast as we can, and like I said, we just appreciate your patience. Thank you guys from the bottom of our hearts. You guys are the fucking absolute best community on YouTube. Let us know your thoughts about this arc, your analysis of certain character moments. I'm sure there are things that we missed, not just like thematically, but like even within the plot that we might have not talked about. So if we missed anything or you want to add anything, please include all of that in the comment section down below. And subscribe as always if you're not subscribed. It really does matter. It really does help. And you can do it for free. Even liking the video helps too. The only thing left to do now is to get out of here on our outro. It's always the same and never freaking changes. Which
literally
today, Megan, is
you reap what you sow.
Whoa, chill. My hands are sweaty. Sorry.
We always are sweaty hands.
We are always doing that. Okay, that's perfect. Thank you so much for watching, for clicking on this video, for hanging out with us. And until next time, you reap what you sow. Remember that. Don't forget
you're getting
that.
Violent. The whole thing is like non-violent.
Remember that.
That's what happens. See, you reap what you sow.
I did reap. That happened in real time. That was an instant lesson.